That's from the Astros closer, Ken Giles. National panel, Astros have the untouchable Dallas Keuchel in a few minutes. The untouchable Justin Verlander ready for Game 6. But should the way last night played out have them a little bit worried, Frank?
Well, I think you have to be worried if you can get to that bullpen. You know, last night, the Yankees, the first 6 innings, they sent 19 batters to the plate. They get 1 hit. Then in the 7th and 8th inning, they have 15 batters to the plate, and they get 6 runs. Can you get to that bullpen? Because here's the thing about Keuchel. Career against the New York Yankees, his ERA is 1.09, basically unhittable.
Jackie McMullen, a little bit of worry for the Astros, or no, you got the big arms coming up here. They should be fine.
I think it's a little bit of worry because of the way this game unfolded. You know, you had things pretty much, you were in this game, and then all of a sudden it all falls in a heap with Giles on the mound. That's a problem for you. And again, the numbers, we keep bringing them up, but we got to bring them up again offensively for the Astros, Tony. 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position at Yankee Stadium. It's a problem for them. As great as the Yankees' numbers are under their bright lights of their stadium, they're pretty bad for the Astros going the other way. But I still like their chances with Keuchel and Verlander. You got 2.
Woody, how much concern for this Astros team?
If I'm one of the Astros, I'm sitting in the locker room last night thinking, oh, gee, we've got 2 great pitchers coming up. We get to go back home. Why did we expect we were going to win 4 straight? The Yankees did beat the Cleveland Indians. Yeah, we got some bullpen problems, and we've had a little bit of a hitting problem lately, but no issues here at all. I don't think there should be any concern. They know how good they are, how great they've been all season. You didn't expect to sweep the Yankees anyway.
Israel Gutierrez.
I mean, I understand the whole idea of, yes, Dallas Keuchel, 13 shutout innings against the Yankees in the postseason. That gives you all the confidence in the world going into this game. However, you've also got the Yankees who refuse to lose at home, okay? And the Yankees are going to be that team that just kind of confuse us in the postseason and kind of defy the odds. They're not supposed to win, but they play to their strengths. And what happened yesterday? 2 innings, 6 runs with some hot bats, a couple of hits from Aaron Judge, 1 from Gary Sanchez who got his first hit of the series, and you lock him down with that bullpen. That's the formula there. So when you've got the Astros hitting 210 with runners in scoring position for the entire series, of course there's going to be some concern. If you don't get this win with Dallas Keuchel on the mound, you're not sure Justin Verlander is going to be able to repeat a 124-pitch performance like he did earlier in the series, so there's plenty of reason to be concerned.
Listen to Israel talking about these Yankees. You don't know what you're going to get from them. You don't know what they can do. Sounds like you think they're the lovable underdogs that they are. Go ahead, Frank Isola.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. You know, we think of the Yankees as the evil empire, but this is really a very likable team that come back. And Izzy touched on it. Aaron Judge is hitting the ball well, and they needed Gary Sanchez to get going. He was the DH last night. That was a very good move by Girardi.
Jackie, last word.
Yeah, here's one final thing you should be worried about if you're the Astros. We had no idea where they were throwing fastballs to Aaron Judge because he throws those out of the park. Last night, he hit a slider out of the park. The kid's got something going on here in this postseason.
We'll move on. All right, we have to talk about Gordon. And we're not going to show it. Reactions from players, the Cavs bench, enough. Reaction from everybody in basketball and sports was heartfelt, and that's wonderful to see that empathy still exists on planet Earth. Now let's build on that and apply it to the whole world, no matter whether somebody's allegedly signed up for something or not. It feels weird talking about the game. It must have felt weird playing the game. And this was a great game, ended with the Kyrie Irving chance at the buzzer. But Jackie, everything takes a back seat to Hayward. What is the latest, and how do you think Hayward handles this, and how do you think the Celtics do this season?
Well, the Celtics and Gordon's agent and medical officials have been huddling in Boston all day trying to decide what's next. There is talk that it may be a clean break, so maybe Gordon Hayward comes back at the end of the year. But, boy, it's a little premature to even really talk about much of that. I think what you see here and what you saw across sports last night was the idea of like this. Everything can change. Your career, your year, your team's year in a heartbeat. And it's a very fragile thing, sports. You know, when you stop to think about it, it's amazing that there aren't more things like this that happen because of at the speed they're playing and the strength of a guy like LeBron James when you get tangled up under the basket. And my heart goes out to Gordon Hayward. I know how hard he worked during the offseason to be ready for this season, to be a big part of the Celtics team. It's just heartbreaking. I tell you, the city today, they're in mourning here in Boston. It's just cast a pall over
completely understandable, but also how does a team get past something like this? How does a coach, Brad Stevens, process this with the players?
Well, you know, I was pretty impressed with what Brad Stevens did last night. In fact, ESPN called me this morning. We had to put in our Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year choices yesterday before the game. I picked Brad Stevens as Coach of the Year. They emailed me this morning and said, so you probably want to change your pick, right? I said, no. More than ever, I believe this is what Brad Stevens is very, very, very good at. And what they did in the second half, to me, was nothing short of remarkable. Who wanted to play in that game? You can't tell me those guys wanted to even complete that game, but somehow they did and made a game of it with a rookie and a second-year player leading the way along with Kyrie Irving. It was really impressive.
So real quick, expectations then for this team about the same right now? 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed?
No, not the same. This is devastating. They were going to compete for the Eastern Conference and maybe even get a shot at the finals. I think that's all.
Let's bring in the rest of the panel here. Frank Isola?
Well, you know, first of all, they're well coached. They're very much organized, and they have good talent. So they're going to be okay. They're going to be a playoff team. To me, that shocking injury, it was very reminiscent of what happened to Paul George 3 years ago in the exhibition game with the U.S. national team. He ended up missing 8 months. He did come back in April. And what Jackie talked about, the clean break, and talking to some doctors, if it is a clean break, it's not unrealistic to think 4 or 5 months from now that he could be back out there playing. So I think it's a lot more optimistic. Believe it or not, the image of it is terrible. But suffering a ruptured Achilles or an ACL, MCL is a much worse injury.
So then would you say their expectations could still be the same? They could still contend for the Eastern Conference here if he might be back by the end of the season.
I think it's still very much a possibility, and it's going to be up to Gordon Hayward, a young guy, how quickly he recovers. They still have talent, but certainly opens the door for Washington and Toronto.
Gutierrez?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. If we didn't actually see it happen, if this had happened in practice, we'd all be saying, man, that's a tough one. His career's not over. Cool. He'll come back. Let's see what the Boston Celtics can do. There's that obvious, you know, that shock and that pain from actually seeing it. So if you sort of fast forward and say, okay, Gordon Hayward's going to be okay, this team is going to rely a lot more on Kyrie Irving, which is kind of what he wanted, right? He wanted to be the guy, and we'll see just how much he can take on that responsibility. And if you have a Jaylen Brown who had a career high as a starter last night, had a career high period, started last night, and a Jason Tatum who develops into the rookie you expect them to be, they're still going to be ultra talented, probably 1 through 7, and could compete with Washington and Toronto and all those teams in the Eastern Conference. I just don't know, A, if they were ever at the Cavs level, a healthy Cavs team level, and B, if they can make that leap, even if they miraculously get Gordon Hayward back at the end of the season.
Woody Page?
Israel made a great point. We remember, I think, if you've been around for a while, watching Joe Theismann break his leg in a game on live TV. The Paul George situation, we didn't see it. We just could respond to it the next day. So I think when it's right there staring you in the face over having covered so long, I know it's just, I was at a game in New York and watched a referee die next to me, and nobody wanted to play that game. Nobody wanted to be at that game, so I can kind of at least understand what went through minds of everybody last night. In regard to the Celtics, though, I think this is going to test Danny Ainge's ability to go out. They've got an $8.4 million exemption. They can go trade for somebody like a Kenneth Faried here, an energy guy. Tatum is going to have to step up his game. They were depending on him to be somebody who would come in off the bench. Now they're going to rely on him to be in the starting lineup, but I could see them.
Is that what this is, Jackie? Starting Tatum and maybe making a move like Woody puts out there?
Well,
Kenneth Faried?
yeah, I mean, when Morris comes back, that would have been Tatum's spot, and he would have gone to the bench. You have to decide whether you're going to go small, maybe start Marcus Smart, but you could start Tatum, and we'll have to wait and see how that all works
I feel
out.
like we have to at least talk a little bit about how the game ended and how the game played out, because this was the Kyrie Irving game we waited all summer for. Typically, we talk about this for like 7 topics, but with Hayward, of course, we're not. He had a chance to tie at the end there. Didn't fall for him. He had the moment with LeBron and everybody in the team immediately after. He had the booze, and he had that video tribute that never happened, by the way. So my question, Frank, is can we all move on, I guess? And the idea that the video never played. Report was multiple Cavs weren't so sure about a video of that nature. What are you hearing there? What are you thinking there?
Well, first of all the credit in the world to Kyrie for remembering all these different handshakes with all his ex-teammates. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, and somehow he remembered all this. As for the video, I had to laugh when the report came out, because I don't think they should have played the video under the circumstances, but when the report came out, several Cavs, well, let's see, there's 15 of them. Let's start going through the list. Derrick Rose cares if they play that video. Jose Calderon, it's one Cav who came back a few years ago, and they didn't play a video for. Please, stop. Several Cavs, I'm not buying that.
Israel?
I don't know. What if it was somebody from the front office? I mean, this guy was under contract, wanted out, has talked up Boston in comparison to Cleveland. These fans were going to boo him. I don't think necessarily that tribute video would have been taken very well, so maybe it was a smart decision.
Or it's possible, as Woody was alluding to earlier, after the Hayward injury, it's hard to just roll out a video in the middle of all that and move on. And some of the players in the Warriors-Rockets game even talked about how they had seen the injury before their game started, and it was a pall in their game. I want to talk about Warriors-Rockets real quick. 122-121. The ring ceremony, the late start, the big lead Golden State had, and blowing it. Houston won this game with Chris Paul on the bench late because of a sore knee. He said, "I'm a hell of a cheerleader." This is the new-look Rockets team we all waited for. We didn't actually get it at the end of the game, and they still won at Golden State. What's your takeaway, Woody Page?
Well, first of all, I think the Rockets proved that they still have to do some work for having Paul and Harden play together. When they were on the court for that period of time, they were a combined minus 13. So there's still some work to do in regard to making sure that each one gets the ball enough, that they're working among themselves and working in the other people. What kind of surprised me about the Rockets, though, they were talking about the depth that they had. They only played 8 players in the game, so they're going to have to stretch that bench a little bit more than they did last night. But D'Antoni, I think, handled it well by getting Paul, who's still nursing that knee problem, out of the lineup, and they were able to win the game to go in when the Warriors had a ring night. I think that was an exceptional victory for them.
Israel, your takeaway?
Yeah, I'm not going to really take much out of it, to be honest. When you've got those two, Chris Paul and James Harden, ball-dominant guards, they're going to take some time to get used to each other and play well together. When you've got the Warriors missing Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green at the end of the game, Andre Iguodala for the whole game, Draymond at the end of the game, it's like, okay, maybe that's not their full team. But you do have to give the Rockets credit. They have built a type of team that will try to compete with the Warriors because of how they play, the three-pointers and the layups. And they didn't have a great game. And the Warriors just let them through the door enough to go ahead and steal that one, and they did. So,
but systematically, you think this Rockets team is built to compete with this Warriors team, and you saw it on the court last night. That was your takeaway.
Better than any of the other teams, yes.
Okay, how about you?
And well, I think, first of all, the Golden State Warriors have to guard against complacency. They gave up 34 points in the fourth quarter, and they blew a 17-point lead. That's what their coaching staff is going to focus on. I think Mike D'Antoni did a great job. He still has to figure it out with Chris Paul and James Harden, but you know what he said? We'll experiment later. Let's win this game. That was a great win for them.
Jackie.
Yeah, big-time win against the defending champions. They'll figure it out, Paul and Harden. Paul's going to be more aggressive off the ball, being willing to shoot those threes off the ball. The big thing is you're going to be able to rest both of these guys, so Harden isn't going to be exhausted at the end of the year in the playoffs when you need him to make those big shots.
MRI for Draymond Green coming after the first game of the season. That's something to monitor as we play out. We'll take a break here, if you guys are all right with that. Come back in 2 minutes with Buy or Sell. Stick around.
I'm going to fight Woody real quick.
29.
Write it down. This series is over this year. There's no pressure on the Dodgers. Joe Madden has lost his mind. This series is over this year. It's over.
It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over.
3-0 Dodgers, Woody Page. Are you pronouncing it over?
Oh, man.
Wow. Plaschke's absolutely right. I mean, the Cubs are finished. Their bullpen has an ERA in the postseason of 7.03. Kelly Jansen's got 3 saves. When you get to the bullpen of the Dodgers, you're finished. And they're missing their best player, and the replacements have gone in and been 4 for 10 with 4 extra base hits. And Puig is doing Gene Simmons out there in the dugout. Yeah, it's over.
Israel?
That was a nightmare image of Plaschke. Yeah, it's not. The Dodgers are playing great. It's more so about what the Cubs aren't doing, though. Their bullpen's ERA's up over 5. They're hitting 159 for the series. Nobody's hitting with runners in scoring position. It just looks like the Cubs are empty right now. They've got nothing left.
Isola?
Yeah, I'm surprised by it. The Cubs' bullpen has not been good. They haven't been good in the field. But let's hear it for Chris Taylor. How about a guy, 1 home run in 120 career games?
Yeah.
He's got 2 in
But
the
let's
NLCS.
get back to how
Not
you
bad.
started. I'm surprised by it, which is another way of saying is I picked this series wrong.
They're the defending champions.
Yeah.
I thought we all figured they'd play better.
Jackie Mack, we. Go ahead, Jackie.
What a train wreck that was in that last little box over there. I don't think we could be surprised. I just think that the Dodgers are playing the way we saw them play when we thought they were going to be the Seattle Mariners. Remember that? And then they went through their little dog days of September or late August or whatever. Now they're back with great hitting, great bullpen help, and if you can't get to them by the 7th inning, it's over. So it
Buy
is
or
over.
sell
Bill's
too.
right. Give Bill his credit.
Buy or sell too. You guys have all covered fights at practice before. The details of Chicago's Bulls punch-out. as reported by Peter Vesey. Trash talk going both ways. Mirotic shoving Portis twice, maybe 3 times. Portis retaliating with a hard shove. Mirotic charges, Portis puts him down. It's being called concussion, a maxillary fracture. Surgery probably needed. Bulls suspending Bobby Portis for 8 games today. Buy or sell that, Israel?
I mean, I'm going to buy the suspension. It seems like a decent number. I think they probably got lucky with Mirotic only missing 4 to 6 weeks. But in terms of this organization, man, how much uglier can it get? They were already supposed to be the worst team in the league, and now they're infighting. Not saying that this is management's problem, Bobby Portis' actions, but, man, like, get your stuff together over there, Chicago.
Sold a buy or sell an 8-game suspension.
Oh, absolutely. It should be 8 games. It's amazing about the NBA. Everyone criticizes the league because all the players get along too much. And now there's a fight, and it's between 2 teammates at practice. Absolutely ridiculous. When this came across the league office yesterday, I can only imagine Adam Silver's reaction. 8 games? Absolutely.
Jackie, man?
I would even go 10 games, Frank, or maybe even more. You don't have to go too far back to remember what happened with Rudy Tomjanovich. This can be the kind of thing that ruins someone's career, ruins their lives, and you can't take it lightly. And if the Bulls had, I think the league would have stepped in. My question is this: how do you keep both these guys on your roster now going forward? How do these 2 guys play together? I'd like to know.
Good question. Woody, you have an answer there?
Sure. Trade him. Get rid of him. Release him. But at least trade him to another team. You don't want him there when he gets back. I think that Portis, the problem is, and you guys didn't mention it, they already have 4 guys injured. Now they got 2 more players that won't be available for at least 8 games. This team is a total dumpster fire.
All right, you guys have covered practices in your past. So have you ever seen something like this? I mean, to this extent, a player needing surgery. But I think I remember Michael Jordan punching Steve Kerr. Didn't that happen in a practice?
Give him a black eye.
No video of it.
Black eye. Yeah. No video of it, so I guess it's not the same. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3. No policy on the anthem came up. That's from some of the players in attendance of the owners' meetings. While good vibes seem to permeate throughout the entire meeting. Frank, what to buy, what to sell from the outcome then?
I think it's good for the league and the owners to get the players in a room and say, you know what, we do care about the same issues that you care about. But guess what? Weeks, months from now, we'll get to see if this wasn't just a PR move. But I would say this. They probably also told the players, guess what? Whether you agree or disagree with the protest, it's hurting our business. It's hurting all of us.
Jackie McMullen?
Geez, that's not the vibe I got, Frank, from the little we've heard about this meeting. To me, it sounded like more like, you know what? I want you to sit down across from me. I'm an owner. You're a player. And let's understand each other. Let's try to have a dialogue so I can understand where you're coming from and you can understand where I'm coming from. And that's the kind of communication that should have happened long before now. I do applaud Roger Goodell for getting them all in the room together. All right, you don't need concrete things to come out of this for it not to still be a positive thing that happened.
Do you agree with that, Woody Page, what Jackie just said? You don't need concrete rule here in place that it can be allowed or it won't be allowed?
Well, I think it's a start, but that it's a late start. Why weren't they discussing these issues during the offseason? It's not like this suddenly popped up this year. But in regard to specifically what you said, I think that you've got to address the subject that brought them all together. That's the national anthem and the standing, and they didn't bring it up. And I thought that should have been at least another hour spent there talking about what they were going to do going forward. Now we're delayed. We don't know what they're going to do.
Totally disagree, Woody. I believe the discussion here is progress made on inequality and injustices among minorities in this country, and that is the topic that is first and foremost the subject of discussion, not necessarily the anthem. The anthem is part of the way they're protesting, not the reason they're protesting, and I think it's progress that the owners have at least said they should help the players in their cause.
Absolutely.
Time for chit chat. I sold a McMullen, a lightning bolt right here. Woody Page, Israel Gutierrez. We had to weigh in. Now we're gonna. Woody Page, Israel Gutierrez showdown. Here's an idea borrowed from Austrian hockey. It's in Greg Wyshynski's ESPN.com column today. NHL playoffs, instead of 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, teams with better records should pick their opponents. Woody, case for or against?
It's a creative grand idea. Imagine that you're your Warriors. You don't want to go all the way across the country and play the Celtics. You say, I want to play the Utah Jazz. They're right here close to us. And I think that everybody should do it. I picked out somebody before the show. And guess what? I picked Israel.
On. You're taking the L here. Listen, I want to see the team that goes full Matt Damon and Goodwill Hunting. He says, I'm picking the wrench. Why? Because bleep you. That's why. That would be an interesting beginning to a playoff series.
Ooh, that's a second level Goodwill Hunting reference that I love. Point Gutierrez. List of all-time lookalikes. Take a look. Fake Andy Reid, Faux Joe Madden, Lil Ron Washington, Baby Mangino. Now we add fake Klay Thompson. Israel, where does that rank?
Listen, faux Joe Madden was great. Fake Klay Thompson had me fooled legitimately for about 10 seconds. That one is fantastic, and he got that seat on opening night. That's amazing.
They're all crude. They're okay. But guess what? The guy that in L.A. at a baseball game that actually impersonated me got free beers out of it. That's the doppelganger for you.
Looks nothing like you.
He actually got free beers out of it? Well, if that's the case, you brought your own prop to Showdown. Take the FaceTime money paid.
We're all sad in this country. We didn't get into the World Cup. We got to choose another team to cheer for. I got it for you. Iceland. They have 1.1% of our population. They got into the World Cup. They love to eat fermented shark. They love to drink. They love elves. They love that they can stay up all night long and it's light. So we got to go with them. Icelandia.